LoreWarrior Online. The Woodsman. Overview. Clan Wolf's first stab at a heavy Omnimech was a tremendous success. At least 3 modern Omnimechs can trace their beginnings back to the Woodsman. The design spent a lot of time with the scientists who were designing it. While many mechs are rushed into production out of necessity, the Wolves were still strong and powerful. Perhaps long-term planning, such as the design of the Woodsman, is part of the reason for that. By the time it reached the battlefield, it had been tested and tinkered with to the satisfaction of all involved. Capabilities. The roomy chassis had plenty of space to mount almost any configuration of weapons and equipment that the 27.5 tons of pod space would allow. With more than a third of its weight devoted to pod space, the Woodsman could vary greatly depending on mission. At its heart, the base model allowed for mobility and durability. Normally capable of speeds of over 60 km per hour, by engaging the mask, the mech could exceed 80 kph, as fast as most heavy mechs are capable of. Almost as heavily armoured as an Orion, it could withstand plenty of enemy fire. While the Woodsman had dozens of standard configurations over the years, 2 were more prevalent than others, having been adopted into their successors. The primary version was the one that the Inner Sphere so famously ran into, borne by the Timberwolf. Dual large lasers provided the main firepower, while shoulder-mounted long-range missiles complemented them. With 3 tons of ammunition, it could last through most engagements. Between the 4 main weapons, the Woodsman could engage at distance or up close. It had a trio of extended-range medium lasers as backup weapons, along with a small version. For anti-personnel support, dual machine guns fed by half a ton of ammo deterred infantry from closing in. 5 additional double heatsinks provided a total of 17, enough to handle most of the prime configuration's needs. The Woodsman was also known for a prominent energy-only configuration. 2 powerful extended-range particle cannons gave it a heavy 1-2 punch, while a large pulse laser could provide accurate fire to back it up. Upon closing, a pair of extended-range medium lasers and 1 small could be added to the firepower. With only the same number of heatsinks as the prime version, the pilot needed to be selective with their firepower. There were many other configurations, including the dual Arrow 4 that led to the creation of the Naga, but the design did age. With the appearance of faster machines that improved upon the weaknesses of their predecessors, Woodsman pilots were forced to use their mask far more aggressively. While a great advantage could be won by riding the edge of this dangerous equipment, far too many pilots found their machines crippled by a surge. Left without mobility to counter the Summoners and Warhawks, many a Woodsman met its end. By the time of Operation Revival, the last of the known Woodsmen fell. Perhaps a few may still exist in the Dark Caste, but otherwise, the mech is now extinct. So the Woodsman, mass 75 tons, chassis WOD-1, power plant Wolf 300, cruise of 43, max speed of 64 kph with no jump jets. Its armour is Duralex heavy. 27.5 tons of pod space being available, manufactured on Wolf Clan Site number 2, primary factory on Strana Meshti. Communication system is Wolfcom 3.4, targeting and tracking is CW3. So yeah, the original, the Woodsman. A mech that is, well, very rarely mentioned in any kind of games or anything. The write-up here suggests that it's gone for good, but who's saying there can't be some put into a computer game? I would assume most, clan aficionados would really appreciate seeing a Woodsman running around in a digital form. It's not a bad-looking mech either, to be fair. It's got a walk of 4, a run of 6, 8 with the mask engaged. It can sink 24 heatsink, and it's got an armor factor of 216, means the armor is 9 on the head, 33 on the CT, 10 on the rear, 23 on the right and left torso, 7 on the rear, and the arms have 22 and the legs have 30. As such, it comes with a few different configurations, or the one that's listed here in the Era Digest Golden Century only lists the primary configuration and the alternate configuration A, but I'm not surprised that there'd be a lot more out there. But yeah, it's. I wanted to do one about the Woodsman because it's a clan mech that gets mentioned a lot as being, one of the progenitors or one of the all-time classic Omnimechs, and for the longest time, it never got a write-up. It's mentioned in things like Technical Readout 3055 and 3050 upgrade, but it's never actually given a proper full-on Technical Readout write-up, which I always found odd, given the fact that, you know, this is a classic piece of clan machinery. So, yeah, it was nice to finally see a write-up, no matter how small. I unfortunately do not yet have a copy of Technical Readout Golden Century. I am hoping to get one at some point, so I can maybe do an updated version of this, or possibly just like an addendum that might cover any other elements that have been missed out. But for now, for anyone who has always been interested in the Woodsman, I'm sure you've heard of it but never really seen it, here it is. And yeah, it's not a bad mech. I wouldn't mind seeing it placed into a game like MWO, modded in, put into a game like, I don't know, Mech 5, or if they ever do bother to do a clan invasion of Mech 5, or even if something like Living Legends wanted to give it a go at some point. I'm sure there's a few options to get that in there, and yeah, it's a cool looking mech, quite fun. But I'll leave all that one. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.